Hey guys, Rex here, and welcome back to Scrap Mechanic. Today I'm going to be presenting to you the Rocketcopter Mark III. Now this is a rocket-powered helicopter that I've been working on over the past couple days, and originally the idea came from Tango and Impulse when they were messing around in their live stream and accidentally created a semi-functional rocket-powered helicopter. So I took that idea and I just sort of refined and polished it up a little bit, and this is the result. So this helicopter has quite a few innovations going into it. First of all, it's got two blades, as you can see. The first one rotates in one direction and the other rotates in the other direction, so they are counter-rotating blades. That helps keep the helicopter stable. As well, we have got two gyros in here. The first one is the main stabilizer gyro, which will trigger these thrusters on the bottom to help keep the helicopter level. And the second one is the secondary gyro, which will impede the helicopter's ability to adjust its yaw and roll. And that's actually really important because when we turn the helicopter, we don't want it to spin out of control, and we generally want to keep the helicopter level, and that will actually help quite a bit. Over here, you'll see this is the Rocketcopter Mark IV, which was a test to see a couple things. A, if the helicopter would work without the secondary counter-rotating blade, and B, if it would work without the secondary gyro, which is right there. And it doesn't work at all. There's two problems. First of all, the helicopter wobbles back and forth. That's likely due to the lack, well, partially due to the lack of secondary gyro, and mostly due to the lack of secondary blade. And also, it also likes to tilt in one direction, and that is probably a result of getting rid of those things as well. So one other innovation I've made with this is I've created what I like to call Mark II gyros here. And you can see I have buttons here and there. And what those do is, wherever there's a sensor, there's a button. And what that does is it makes it so, because the button has a small hitbox, it will make it so that it doesn't have to move as far for the sensor to activate, which is really awesome because then the stabilizer becomes more sensitive. And for example, instead of having to tilt, say, 10 degrees to activate the stabilizer, it only has to tilt 5 degrees. Those are just example numbers, but you get the idea. And it makes it a lot more stable, and I really like that. But I'll explain more about the gyros and what they do later on in the video. But for now, I'm sure you're all eager to see this thing fly. So let's do it. So if we pop into the driver's seat here, you'll see we have 4 controls. The last 2 activate the gyros, so we can just activate those right now. And now the first one will activate the main rotor. And the second one will angle the thrusters down a little bit to add more thrust. Now, obviously these rotors don't work exactly like real helicopter rotors. That's why it's called a rocket-copter and not a helicopter. They basically simulate that by the thrusters cause the rotor to rotate around, and that's just for visual effect. And then they also, since they're angled slightly downward, add a bit of lift to the whole rotor. And then by angling them down a little bit with the controller, like I've done whenever I press the button, that just basically adds more lift as if we were spinning the rotors faster on a real helicopter. So that's how the Rocketcopter feature works. And now as well, I can press A and D to activate thrusters on the back, as you can see, and those will turn me left and right. And that middle gyro plays a huge part in that. And then lastly, I press W, and it will activate 4 thrusters on the back, 2 of which are angled slightly downwards, and that will tilt the helicopter forwards a little bit so that the main rotors assist in the forward motion. So, let's get started. Engage the main rotor, and we're off. So when just the rotor's spinning and you're not holding down the button that angles the thrusters down more, it produces just enough lift to almost get the copter to stay level. So it will fall down just a little bit, and then you hold down 2 and it will go up. So you can see it's actually really stable and really quick. You can see that if you look at the thrusters on the bottom, you can see them activating, and though it does that to stabilize the helicopter. So if you can see it's angled slightly backwards right now, every once in a while, it's hard to see against the sky, but the front thrusters will activate to stabilize it. And whenever I tilt it forward by pressing forward, you can see the back thrusters on to help stabilize it. Now, like I said, I can turn with A and D, and the steering is very hard to control sometimes because in this game there's no, well, when you turn it, there's no opposing thrust coming from anywhere when you stop activating the thruster, so it will just keep turning until it stops. And I do have some ideas to negate that, but or to solve that completely, but the middle gyro you see spinning right there, the one closest to my character, really helps with that, and I'll explain more about that in a bit. But yeah, this is the helicopter. It's actually really easy to fly. The only time it ever stops working is if you hit something, then it will misalign the gyro and cause problems. Oh, just as I say that, the gyro, I don't know what that was. Maybe that was just a visual error. Let's try and land this thing. Ugh, it's very difficult to land. But yeah, you get the idea. So if we turn it off, there we go. We're back down on the ground. And that is the Rocketcopter Mark III. Okay, so let's talk a bit about gyros now, because those play a huge part in making any sort of flying contraption in Scrap Mechanic. So, if you don't know what a gyro is, let's start with the very basics here. A gyro is basically a sort of disc shape of equal weight spinning around a central axis, right? And what that does is, because of physics and blah blah blah, I could get into the details, but I'm not going to leave those out. A gyro will not want to change its orientation. It will want to stay in its current orientation. It takes a lot of force to move it into a different orientation. So that is what we have going on the back here. We have two spinning weights. The metal blocks act as the weights because they're really heavy. And as a result, this central unit, which is on a 2-axis bearing swivel thing, will always stay level to the ground, or level to whatever position you started at. So this thing must be on a platform or some level ground when you start it up. Otherwise, it will try to correct itself to a tilted angle, which is not good. And as a result, when this thing tilts relative to, or rather when the helicopter tilts relative to this, which is always going to be level, it's going to activate these sensors, which are going to activate the appropriate thrusters on the bottom to help to level out the helicopter. And this one is really the special one that is something new that I've added. I didn't have one, like I said, on the helicopter Mark IV, and that causes quite a bit of issues. On the Mark II, I did have one of these, but it was at the back, and because I wanted it to look like a helicopter blade, obviously, and it did not work nearly as well when it was not sort of on the axis of rotation, and I learned that the hard way. But because this is rotating, that looked really funny, but because this is rotating really quickly, it's going to impede the helicopter from changing its roll. So sort of like, it's hard to demonstrate, but like this, if you get the idea, tilting left and right, basically, if you're sitting in the seat. And it's also, so that's good because we don't want it tilting left and right. It's going to impede that so that it does that less. But it's also going to impede the yaw rotation. All right? And that's just rotating the helicopter left and right like I'm doing right now. And that is important because on the helicopter Mark IV, I'll show you, I don't have this gyro. And as a result, partially because it's lighter, but you'll see that as soon as I activate the yeah, you can see it wobbles around, it tilts like I mentioned. But you can see as soon as I activate the side thruster, it goes berserk and keeps spinning for a long time and just goes all over the place. That is partially due to the lack of secondary gyro. So that is an innovation I added, and I think it does help quite a bit. Even though I could improve it, I was thinking of making a sort of a mechanism which, if I could put this back down, detects when the helicopter is rotating when you're not asking it to, and pushes the thruster on the opposite side to get it to stop rotating. But maybe that's for the Rocketcopter Mark V, and I think that's it pretty much for all of the things that I've done to the Mark IV. Here's the controller here that controls the angle. If I look at the wiring, there's a lot of wires here. There's another control at the back which controls the angle of these pretty much. I do have this little mechanism here using a bearing there. Rotates this little black and yellow bit back and forth to activate these sensors and push the rockets. So that is the Rocketcopter Mark III. And lastly, before I end the video, I want to show you something quite funny. If I activate this, the wires go berserk basically. Looks pretty funny. Anyway, that is the Rocketcopter Mark III. And I hope you learned something from this video, and if you did, then a like would be much appreciated. As far as other videos, I'm working on getting those out at the minute. We've got some Minecraft coming soon, so don't worry about that. And yeah, so I guess I will see you next time. Rex out.